I call him Yug Purush. I have actually made an audio
Yeah.
on his 20th birthday, and I have written 10 things why I call him a Yug Purush. If anybody gets an appointment from Prime Minister for 20 minutes, 15 minutes he will listen uninterrupted what you are talking. 5 minutes, then he will tell 3-4 points, and you will think I have spent 25 years in banking, but this guy has told me these 3 things. What an amazing! This is actually the summary, and why keep my mind. Now tell me, how can he say that? He says that because he listens to people.
Yeah.
He has listened to somebody.
Yeah, he has that ability of listening, which is more important for people nowadays. We don't have that ability.
Yes, and because he has listened to somebody, he is able to tell you.
The Sound of Money with Santosh Sirur.
Hello and welcome to another episode of my podcast, The Sound of Money. And joining me from Ahmedabad is a very special guest, Dr. Jagat Shah. Dr. Jagat Shah is the founder and the CEO of Global Network India, who leads business delegations from India. He, in fact, spearheads them. And he's also the chief mentor of Mentor on Road. So, what's Mentor on Road? All that and more we'll get to know from Dr. Shah on this episode of The Sound of Money with me, Santosh. Hello, Dr. Shah, and welcome to Sound of Money.
Thank you, Santosh. Thanks for inviting me, and it's a real honor and pleasure to be with you.
Most welcome, sir, and I'm glad to have you joining in from Ahmedabad today on this show. Sir, the first question for you actually is, that I did see your LinkedIn profile, and it mentions about your philosophy, which is amazing. It says action at the speed of thought. Now, can you share a little bit about this philosophy? Because you truly believe, I believe, execution is the key to success. Can you tell a little more? Because this is very important for today's youth. Because today's youth is all Instagram generation. Everyone wants success, but they don't look at the hard work. Maybe you should share your thoughts first.
Yeah, you are absolutely, you are on the dot. And, I am an entrepreneur. Okay, I run 6 companies. So, for an entrepreneur, the most important thing is the gut feeling.
Yeah.
How do you feel about something, right? It is not so much of spreadsheets and cost benefit analysis. Yeah, all that, of course, but gut feel is the most important thing. And that is what I say. If I feel that this is something good to do, I do it, right? I don't wait for spreadsheets and break-even analysis.
Yeah.
That is one. That is action at the speed of thought. A thought comes to your mind, you just execute it. Now, the problem with that thinking is that you are taking risk.
Yeah.
So basically, entrepreneurship itself is risk.
Yeah.
Right. So risk-taking ability is something like, if I may say that, a lot of people ask me, oh, you are from Gujarat, how come Gujarat people are so successful in business? One reason is risk-taking ability, right? So that also is a reflection of action at the speed of thought. I'm also a Jain, right? So even Jains, you see, Jains are 0.4% population of India, but 23% businesses of India are run by Jains. So again, same thing, action at the speed of thought, risk-taking ability.
Yeah.
Right. But the third element to it is that I have always believed in this philosophy, and I believe this is what nations like US have become so rich and prosperous, is the philosophy that it's okay to fail, but fail early and fail small.
Okay.
So when you take a risk, there is a chance to fail. It's okay to fail, but fail early and fail small. So that is action at the speed of thought.
So that's a wonderful, action point. In a lot of focus on execution, because that's very important today's generation who are a lot into startups. Ideas बहुत है, दिमाग में बहुत कुछ है, but execution strategies पे बहुत, becomes a bit tough, especially for new entrepreneurs. So you have been very active on Mentor on Road project. We would love to know about what exactly is this Mentor on Road project. In terms of how did this journey start, getting to know people, mentoring them. Maybe if you could share your thoughts.
Yeah, so being in international business as a professional, I used to travel a lot on work. So I always felt that I'm making my family suffer with my absence. So since many years back, I developed a system that as a family, me, my wife, and my son and daughter, who were very young that time, we would drive somewhere on holiday always, so that we are in a car. I think to be in a car together, there is no more closeness you can have from
Absolutely.
hours. Even in flight, you cannot have, and train also,
Yeah.
but car, of course. So,
Yeah.
so I developed that, and we used to drive so much all over India. And uh, then we actually, once I accompanied Mr. Modi, who was then the Chief Minister of Gujarat, to one of the foreign tour, and we were discussing. I told him about my hobby of long distance driving. So he said, "Why don't you attach? This is very good." He said, "It's your hobby you like, because my wife also drives." So
It
he
works
said,
well. Yeah.
"Yes." He said, "Why don't you add some cost to it?"
Hmm.
So I said, "Look, I mean, this is my holiday, so if I have
Don't want to add business to the
a
fun around. Yeah.
Right. He says, "No, you try. If you don't like, I mean, this is the best thing about him. He said, you try, you don't like, don't do it again." I said, okay. So when he became prime minister, I thought that what is the most burning issue in the country? And I realized that ease of doing business. Our rank was 149 out of 185, very
Yeah.
poor. So I said, okay, let me do, I remember his words, let me do this trip. So and I drove from Ahmedabad to Coimbatore, Coimbatore to Calcutta, entire East Coast, and then Calcutta back to Ahmedabad.
Okay.
And for about 65 days. And my wife was also with me. We were taking turns. And then I was interacting with small, medium enterprises through chambers of commerce and other ways. And I met more than 10,000 companies. And I actually enjoyed it, because we used to do tourism on the way, whatever used to come as a site. And then we would meet these entrepreneurs, startups, small, medium enterprise, women-owned business, and try to find out what are their problems in doing business. And then I submitted a 49 one-liner report
Okay.
to Prime Minister's office that, according to me, based on my interaction all over India, across diverse geographies and diverse segments of business,
Yeah.
these are the 49 things. If we change, the life for entrepreneurs will become better. And I'm very pleased to share with you that, the government really did an amazing job. I mean, they must have had their own inputs also, of course.
Yeah.
And next year, the ease of doing business became 130. Next year was 129. Next year was 100. Next year was, kept improving. Today it is 66. Imagine.
Double
I mean,
digits, right? From where we were and where we are, and in
yes.
such a short span of time.
Totally. So I enjoyed that very much. And then I said, let me keep doing this. And, that time the ambassador of US to India, Richard, he came to know about my tour. And then he said, this is a very good way. Why don't you do a similar tour in US? So together with the US Department of Commerce and the Startup India, next year I did a mentor on road tour in America. I drove for about 82 days. East, west, north, south, 35 states, 35 cities, from Boston to Tampa, Tampa to San Diego, San Diego to Seattle, and Seattle to New York. And same thing, I was meeting in the morning startups in universities and explaining them that you are a startup in America, but in the long run, your market is India. So do you know what is changing in India? So my project was called New India 4.0. And then I was meeting women-owned businesses in America and connecting them to Indian women-owned business. Because I recall in one of the overseas tours with Mr. Modi, he used to always say that, there is a high percentage of women in America in the economic workforce and high percentage in China, but it is very low in India. Until women become higher percentage of Indian economy, we cannot become a prosperous country. So I was trying to understand what are the best practices of that why workforce in US, women workforce is high. And I connected them to Indian women-owned businesses and associations. And then I was meeting American startups and explaining them that how they can do business with India. That was supported by US Department of Commerce. And most interesting was in the evening, I would meet Indian diaspora in every city.
Okay.
300 or 400 people would gather, and I will explain them. I would explain that my experiences with Mr. Modi as a chief minister and his vision, for the country and what I perceive will change in India. And I'm so happy to say that I have the recordings of those programs. Everything which today you see happening in India, I mean, that was in the vision of Mr. Modi.
Wonderful.
In those days, it was just a thought, and people many times used to joke about it. But today, it has become a reality. So then onwards, every year we would drive in India or outside India, and we drove. Last year, we drove in Canada from Vancouver, from Montreal to Vancouver, all the way 21 days. So now it is a yearly event. This year, we will drive in Australia for about 120 days. So that's Mentor on Road, where we drive also as me and my wife. Now my children have become, have their own careers. Me and my wife, we drive and we do mentoring and we enjoy.
Absolutely amazing to hear that, because but I'm very keen to know, and our audiences will be very keen to know, your shift from a transit of a right-hand drive to a left-hand drive in Americas and other countries. But I'm sure you steered the course, through the roads. What were the kind of challenges, if any, in the drives and maybe even in the meetings? What kind of, I'm sure you came across loads of people who look at India from a very different lens. How easy or difficult or challenging was it to convince that India is the market which you see today?
Yes, you're very right, Santosh. You have touched upon an amazing, very interesting point. So generally, let me talk more about US in 2017 when I did. So that time, the Mr. Modi's government was also new. India was on a new path. And I used to ask people in the gatherings, particularly, non-Indian Americans. But what can you tell me 5 words about India? If I say India, which 5 words you will use? And most of the words which used to come were negative. So it would say high population, corruption, bureaucracy, all those kind of things. And then I would tell them that what is the population of US? So they will say 300 million. Okay. If suppose the population of US becomes 600 million, can you manage the country? So they say, come on, even 300 can't manage.
They can't handle.
Okay. So we have 1,400 million. Wow. I would start with that, saying that, and still you see we are a democracy. Right. And the largest democracy in the world. So that way, and people used to be surprised. People used to be surprised that how a country like India, with such a vast population and diversity, has democracy. It was really something. So that is how each and every aspect of what they were saying, like even corruption. So I would say digitalization is the answer, and Mr. Modi's Digital India program, which was launched actually that time, is tackling that aspect. So everything. That's why it was always interesting how it started, the discussions, and when it ended, I could see in their eyes, the hope that India is the hope of the world in a way, and so that was a very interesting transformation in almost every meeting I observed. Then second also was with the youngsters in US. They had no idea of what's changing in India. So the startup ecosystem and also Indian diaspora. Indian diaspora was also divided, but to be able to, in those early days, I was still able to tell them some facts of making India, which was just starting and all, but they felt proud about it. So that was interesting. But now talking about road, I will tell you an interesting incident. So, I was interviewed by one of the leading known TV channels in US, and she asked me that, can you tell me what is the difference between driving in America and in India? So I said, you will not like my answer. She said, no, don't worry. Tell me honestly. I said, it is very boring to drive in America. So she said, come on. I said, how is it? I said, I have like 300 miles straight road and there is no pothole.
Absolutely.
I feel so sleepy. And in India, like my office to home is like 5 kilometers. I'll have 10 potholes, and suddenly from the left hand side, one scooter will go across my car. And I'm always attentive, and I'm So
Yeah,
it
it
was
keeps
funny
you
moment.
going. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a funny moment, but she appreciated the fact that, when there are challenges, then there are also opportunities.
Absolutely. As years back when Oprah Winfrey was in India and she traveled the Mumbai roads, she had a wonderful saying to say. She said that there is so much of chaos, but in all this chaos, there is that calm. It still moves on, right? India moves on. I think that's the beauty of the Indian system or the ecosystem as we have.
There is
Uh,
an there is
yeah.
an order. There is an order in the chaos.
Yes, absolutely. As they say, the method, there's a method in that madness. Yeah. So, any countries you also travel by road to various countries, as I know. Any challenging countries, difficult terrains, or any experiences that you want to share?
Yeah, even in US for that matter, there was we were driving from in Texas state, and many people told that look, this 700-mile stretch is a very dangerous stretch. It is throughout the desert.
Hmm.
Very few gas stations and very few places where you can, take a break. And we suggest, why don't you take a flight into
Okay.
this?
Hmm. Hmm.
I said, no, come on. I mean, this is a mentor on road drive, and
Yeah.
it has to be on the road. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we filled up our car with extra cans of gas and food and everything, and
Yeah.
and and it was smooth. On the contrary, when a lot of people ask me even now what was the best city of the 35 cities on that tour,
Yeah.
I actually talk about El Paso, which is in Texas.
Okay.
And also one thing I must tell you, I mean, this
Yeah.
is something. Today is Ram Navami,
Yeah.
such an auspicious and pious day.
Yeah.
I think whenever such missions are taken up, which are challenging and which are selfless, like I don't do it for myself, of course, the fun part,
Yeah.
but there's always God's blessings.
Hmm.
You will be surprised. You will be surprised. We drove for 82 days in US, and we have driven all over the world so many times. Not one day, not once has the car broken down.
Wow. Yeah.
Not
That's
once, not once has there been a tire puncture.
yeah.
Not once has there been even a small scratch in the car.
Yeah.
Never ever. I mean, it is humanly difficult to believe
True.
because, this is a machine, but I think those blessings
Yeah.
from God and all the
Yeah.
well-wishers, I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
been an amazing experience.
Yeah, and of course the mission that you were on, it had all the blessings of everyone because you were looking here. It is not about you and your wife driving down the roads of Americas and the world, but it's about driving India ahead in a way, right? That's exactly what it was. So yeah, beautiful mission. You led a couple of vibrant projects. In fact, vibrant Gujarat is very synonymous, and vibrant projects have become a big name today. In fact, when the Honorable Prime Minister, as a Chief Minister, initiated this in Gujarat, it was one of the first of its kind. And those were years when the industry, international, the industry were just coming into India and getting to know more of India. It had its own challenges as well as that point in time. How was these initiatives that you led and you already continue a lot more now? So been a journey for you and a lot of learning. Of course, now you're talking of it in a different spectrum because it's a lot more positive, a lot more investors rather wanting to come rather than other way around where it would have been in way back, right? Where you were inviting investors to come into India. So that transition, that shift must have been a great experience. If you could share your views.
Yes, you are absolutely right. I mean, I still remember, like I started my business in 1996
Yeah.
as an international trade advisory company. So I had good exposure of, handling trade and investment. And once Mr. Modi had invited me for some discussion, and he was saying, I'm in 2001, 2002, that how to bring investment to India. So I was narrating that just based on my experiences, that how China brought investment to China. They organized events, knowledge summits, and they invited experts from around the world to come to China, because the problem with China was that they did not know English.
Yeah.
Right. But they did not let that become their handicap. And they said, we will invite them and we will explain them what we are doing. So I said, maybe, on similar lines, something should be done. And that is how the first version actually was called Resurgent Gujarat. And we were involved. And then it became successful. And then onwards, government of Gujarat, under the leadership of Mr. Modi as a chief minister. Every version, every 2 years, it went on becoming bigger and bigger. The focus was always like investment, but also trade, exports, imports, joint venture, technology transfer. Most people think about vibrant events as investment focused, but it is not. Of course, investment is in the front, but actually trade is also a big part of it. And then what started happening is that the when the Vibrant Gujarat event would take place, there would be an exhibition also along with it.
Yeah.
Where Gujarat companies would showcase their products, and all these companies who came from abroad would then see that, okay, I'm coming here to invest, but okay, here are the type of companies in Gujarat, so let me partner with one of them. Let me do joint venture with one of them. Companies would be rather comfortable to work with someone who is already in the business than to start on their own as a first step.
Yeah.
So that is a very smart thing Mr. Modi thought of, to combine the two, because I've seen most investment summits around the world even now are just standalone investment summits.
Yeah.
But the trade part which was attached was amazing. And that's how, last time, this year actually, 2024, when it happened, almost 1,600 companies displayed their products. Another interesting element was that, like 22 sectors in Gujarat, which are good leading sectors of Gujarat. Mr. Modi said that get the best expert in the world in, say, for example, pharmaceutical or dyes and chemicals. Get the person down here during Vibrant Gujarat, put all the pharma companies into a room, and let this person talk about technology and best practices, and let us then adopt it. So it's not just the investment part of it, but it's also the knowledge summit part of it.
Yeah.
And then he added another element of country focus, that let's do sector focus knowledge summits, and let's do country focus, that if you want to do business in US, how to do. So again, get people from US and involve Indian diaspora. I still remember I forgot which year, but there was a charter plane which came with 450 companies from Australia.
Wow.
Such a small country in terms of population.
Yeah.
But the 450 companies came to Vibrant Gujarat from one country, imagine. So, it really became a brand. Today, it's a brand.
Yeah.
And extremely. Then Mr. Modi became Prime Minister. So then he wanted that, let this, because this, why to reinvent the wheel? Just let's do this Vibrant everywhere. So
replicating Gujarat model across the country through the states.
Yes, in fact, I will also go to the extent of saying one of the reasons why perhaps the people of India elected Mr. Modi was also to see that how Gujarat had developed. And if it can be replicated to India, it will be a wonderful thing. And it actually worked. And one of the things about development of Gujarat was Vibrant Gujarat. So then we as a company, my company, we did Vibrant Kutch to test. We said, okay, we don't know if we can do on our own or not. We did in Kutch, and it was successful. We went to 20 countries. We did roadshows. We met Kutch people who had left India, and we invited them to invest. It was successful. Then we did Vibrant Saurashtra, another region of Gujarat. Then we did a product-focused Vibrant Ceramics, year one, and then we became confident. Then we did Vibrant Tamil Nadu in Madurai, and then we conducted Vibrant Goa. And then pandemic stuck, so it stopped. But now, after 5 years, again, we are doing Vibrant Goa in November, 8 November to 10 November. And I invite your audience to come and visit. You will be our guest. And so that's how the Vibrant movement has become very popular. In fact, this June we are doing in Dubai also Vibrant. We are doing a Vibrant JV, which is Vibrant Joint Venture.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the beauty of it, right? The brand Vibrant.
Right.
Not just what I liked when you mentioned about this, and that is the Honorable Prime Minister's vision, where it started off with a state, okay, then it went to other states, right, and now it's also going to other countries.
Correct.
Having said that, it also focused on the microcosm of a Saurashtra or a Kutch. So it kind of links everything. The Vibrant brand brought the learnings, I'm sure, must have been amazing, unimaginable, right? Because you guys have been there on the ground, understanding the industry, more than the industry, the people, right? When I talk of a Kutch or a Saurashtra, and then the industry who comes at the state level, and of course now you guys talk on an international level. How has been your experience with this kind of spectrum of people and network? So,
Yeah, so one of the things about Vibrant model is that for every Vibrant event, we go to 20-25 countries in the world. And
yeah.
so we do the preparation 1 year in advance, and
Mm.
we go and we do road shows together with the Embassy of India
Yeah.
and Indian diaspora, and of course the local chambers of commerce.
Mm.
And we invite people. So when we analyze that, okay, we are looking for investment in these sectors, but also trade.
Mm.
And then we invite similar people into those road shows, and we explain them why you should come. Is it not going to be waste of your time?
Yeah.
Why should you come? We explain them first. So it is like already conducting a Vibrant event in their country as a trailer to tell them what do you expect.
Yeah.
And then like this we conduct in 20-25 countries. So there's a lot of people know about it. We involve media. And then people ask a lot of questions. So
Yeah.
the very interesting thing is that most of the questions which people ask in these road shows is
Yeah.
actually the answer to that has been the various schemes which Mr. Modi as a prime minister brought over a period of time. For example, Make in India, Digital India, Smart India, Stand Up in Startup India, Skill India. We find so easy to relate any of the questions to one of these programs and say, look, this is the answer to what you are saying. And they used to be so happy with that. They said, this is something which is happening. And all of these had a website, all of these had case studies, all of these had success stories.
Yeah.
So, people, I have seen people while we are conducting road shows, people are checking on their phone, whether this guy is bluffing or whether this is really
actually exists. Amazing. Yeah.
I would say, they would say, oh, India has a lot of population, but not many skilled people. So how about I say, okay, check skillindia.com.
Yeah.
That's the program. And people would actually check. And I say, look, the standards have been fixed, training is being happening, the private public partnership is there. So people started believing. And so these programs which were rolled out actually became very, very, acceptable solutions.
Absolutely. So what I see it is before, I mean, much before, what India and anybody wanting to invest in India, it was a jigsaw puzzle for them.
Correct.
Now you have this jacketing, where you can place all these because this is ready. And the best part is this is digital, right? It's just a click of a button and there you get to see at every level, right up down. I think that's the beauty of the kind of work you guys have put in, the efforts you've put in all over the years, and of course the Honorable Prime Minister's vision over the years, right? So
Santosh, one more thing, it comes to my mind. So people used to ask, because we did not have GST in 2017. So people used to ask, oh, how come India is one country? You have 29 states, 29 local taxes. So for us, it's how do we see it as a country? And so that is why you see when GST came, that was one of the biggest booster of investment which came to India, because now you are talking of one tax, one country.
Yes.
It is so easy for people to do business. Otherwise, they get confused. I'm doing business in 6 states. I have to file 6 returns. I mean, it's too much hassle for somebody who is used to ease of doing business.
Absolutely.
So every reform of India was actually a solution to what investors were seeking.
Yeah. And imagine, right? If we in India have to invest as Indians in different states, we itself find this as a hassle. So imagine an investor from abroad. Now this one tax solution is completely of a different ballgame that they are playing, and when they invest in it. Yeah. So tell us about this Global Network International, which is your company you led for last almost 3 decades. What about the international trade and more importantly, the digital training school? If you could share your views.
Yeah, so after some years of experience of doing jobs, I wanted to get into the service sector because from very early days I have believed, and till today I believe, and I openly challenge in every program of mine, that there is no product or service in India which cannot be exported. I challenge people. I say, come right now, as I'm standing on the stage, come to me and say, yeah, look, this is my product. It cannot be exported. Look, this is my service. It cannot be exported. I said in 5 minutes on the screen, I will show you a company in India which is already exporting that product.
Wow.
So if
Yeah.
somebody is doing, why you cannot do? That is my first philosophy. But I wanted this philosophy to go to people, right? And so I coined a slogan which is called exports should be made a people's movement.
Hmm. Okay.
Exports should be made a people's movement, because I also looked at data. I am a researcher and I do a lot of data analytics, and I found that there is no country in the world. I'm talking of those early days, 97,
Hmm.
1996, 97, and till today,
Yeah.
same data. There is no country in the world which has become a prosperous country without high percentage of their economy being part of exports.
Hmm.
So I said, if we are talking of a prosperous India, then
Yeah.
what are we doing with exports? Because our exports was very low.
Yeah.
Right. So that is what motivated me to get into, and I realized that it is the small medium enterprises who cannot hire, highly paid salaried people, and
Hmm.
who do not have the knowledge. And so I started serving them. And
Hmm.
I actually, it's interesting question you asked, because I started with consulting,
Hmm.
and I said I'll guide you how to export. And I was in Gujarat, wrong state, for
Hmm.
consulting.
Hmm.
Okay, with such high entrepreneurship, they say, hey, come on, Jagat, you will guide me how to export. Then why don't you export?
Yeah. Correct.
Why would you guide someone? I had no answer to this.
Hmm.
Then I was not successful.
Hmm.
I had no clients, zero. 6
Okay.
months. I
Okay.
met 30 companies. Everybody refused. Then one guy, he told me, why don't you start training?
Hmm.
I said, I have never done training, but I can do. He
Yeah.
said, yeah, yes, because he said the examples you are narrating from your life about export is very interesting. Train us. I
Yeah.
said, okay, I went back to the 30 people who
Hmm.
said no to consulting. I said, will you take my training? They said, yes. It took me 6 months, Santoshji, to understand that in business, you have to use the right word. I
Oh,
was using consulting, the word should have been training.
training. Right.
Whereas consulting and training almost is same.
Yeah. So consulting is किसी को आप advice दे रहे हैं तो अरे आप कौन
Right.
है advice देने वाले?
Right.
Training is somewhere you are saying I'm imparting my experience. आप सीखिए. That's the
Exactly.
beauty, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And I got 12. The fees which I was telling about consulting, same fees I told for training, they agreed.
Amazing.
So fees was not the problem. The problem was why will you guide?
Perception of the way
Yeah.
the business was
Wow.
put forth. Yeah. Hmm.
Anyway, so I started training, and I started Global Network Institute, which is my training school, and it became successful. And then, in fact, one of those my students, I call them students, they are all business people.
Hmm.
One of them, my student, told me, hey, sir, why you have been to so many countries? Why don't you take us to one country? We have never been to any country.
Yeah.
I said, okay, the nearest is Bangladesh, let's go.
Hmm.
And I went 10 days before, 12 of them came, and I arranged their meetings, and 4, 5 got business. But when I came back, all 12 came to me and they said, now we understand the meaning of consulting.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
the way you did Bangladesh is to do Brazil also.
Yeah.
Your process was perfect, your steps and the way you did it. We are now ready for consulting. So it gave me an idea. Let me do a lot of training.
Hmm.
Let me take my so-called students, business people to different countries,
Yeah.
get business, and when I come back, many will become my consulting client.
Yeah.
So I actually used my training
Yeah.
platform to start my consulting business, which became successful. I think in next 4 or 5 years, I had almost 120 clients in my consulting,
Hmm.
right? Because I was doing more and more training. Then I became popular all over India. People used to call me all over India.
Yeah.
Then became popular in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, neighboring countries. And then, of course, we went to Canada, US, many, many countries.
Yeah.
So that's how we started, and we became extremely successful. And even Government of India had various ministries and export
Yeah.
promotion councils. They started contacting us that our members speak good about you. Why don't you take our government delegations to various countries and arrange buyer-seller meet and get them business?
Hmm.
So that's how we got into this company of institute. And
Beautiful.
then when pandemic started, we went digital. So
Yeah.
we now have a
Continued
digital online school.
Wonderful. Sir, you talk of you're working on 3 amazing initiatives, and I've been reading that. One, of course, is field inputs, right, to leadership on Make in India, Skill India, the kind of initiatives the government has defined under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister. The second one is on the 60 plus life, which is very important because today's 60 is the 50s, right? Because we still have that capacity to work. That's the kind of life. And the third one, of course, been on the converting of the 62 villages into smart villages in 100 days. All these three initiatives are extremely forward-looking. They have a vision, and they have substance in it. Uh, what led you to think of these three key initiatives? But they are in a very different sphere. All of them are in an independent sphere. Maybe if you could share your views on this, and why did you take up these three initiatives?
So let me talk about 60 plus life. So this is also very interesting. This is somewhere in 2012. Again, Mr. Modi was in one of the meetings talking about that, we should do something about people who get retired because,
Yeah.
they are retiring, but now life expectancy in India is high and,
Yeah.
people should not be then sitting at home and, their daughter-in-law and
Yeah.
son-in-law should not be
Family issues. Yeah.
So very jokingly he was saying.
Yeah.
And so that thought came to my mind, and there was a journalist in Times of India at that time, who was my very good friend. He and another one person who had just retired.
Okay.
So the three of us were friends, and we were talking about it. And we said, okay, let's do. So we started this organization which still runs, which is called 60 Plus Life.
Okay.
So he said, okay, what we will do in this organization, that those who have retired, we will put them back to work. Sometimes full-time, sometimes part-time, sometimes as a teaching, sometimes as a mentoring, sometimes as like this, just to give you an example. So we started registering people and from all over India, and we actually did a launch and we did job mailers for seniors and all those things. But one interesting thing, so within a year, we had 1,400 people who enrolled. Then we started using a lot of technology to do data analytics. So we saw that 65 of them were architects. So we said, okay, we started deploying them to the School of Architecture and college, and then to tell them that, because we asked these retired people that, according to you, what is the pain point of the young people who are joining the industry? And the pain point of industry vis-a-vis young. We said these people who are learning this architecture and engineering, they have no idea of the real world of work. It's very theoretical. So we said, okay, let's do one thing. In the last year, last 6 months of their college, you go there and you tell when they join a company of architecture firm, what are they expected to do?
Fantastic.
And what are the tools? So that way you will be bridging this gap. You will solve 2 pain points. You will solve the pain point of the architectural firm community, and you will solve the pain point of the students.
Agreed.
So it worked very well, and we all over India, we got very good response, and people were paid for doing this. And then, of course, many people like small, medium enterprise cannot hire highly paid people. But these seniors, what is the meaning of a senior? A senior means they have 35, 40 years of experience, first of all. They know what not to do. A lot of consultants like me know what to do, but they know what not to do.
Not to do, correct, which is very important.
More important. And then they have contacts. The people who worked under them today have become senior. So they can connect. It is all references. So once there is a reference, things move fast, right? So that reference, and then of course the relationship which happens between it's like a father and son or father and daughter relationship between those seniors and these companies.
True.
So it worked very well, and it is unfortunate that because of pandemic, we had to stop the work because we could not do any gatherings, particularly senior people were at risk. So since pandemic, it is more online, but we plan to now again take back offline activities, but it was very successful. And then we have another smart village initiative. So when I was doing this mentor on road tour in America, I was thinking that I am going to interact with Indian diaspora abroad. So what is it? What should I talk to them? I mean, for everyone, I had an objective. For startups, I had an objective, women-owned business and SMEs in America. But Indian diaspora, what should I talk other than perhaps what is already known, through media about changing in India? But I said, okay. So I started a initiative which I called Learn, Earn and Return. So I used to ask the audience in US that, okay, tell me how many of you went to school in India? So 80% would raise hand. How many of you went to college in India? Again, 80%. Okay, so you learned in India. They said yes. Okay, how many of you are earning in America? Everybody 100%. Okay. Now tell me, what did you return to India? because your investment, all India did investment on you. Now
Correct.
India is expecting a return. Tell me what have you returned? So people would say, I donate to temple, I donate to school and all. So I would be very blunt to ask them, can you tell me how many students are in the school? And they had no idea. I said, how many teachers are in the school? They have no idea. So I said, you donated, but you don't know what's happening with them.
Yeah.
So I pitched this Smart Village program. I said, look, whichever village you belong to in India, adopt it, and we will work to convert it into a smart village in 1,000 days. But they said, why you want us? Because I said, I don't know people in villages in India. I know only my village, but it is your village. So you are the emotional anchor.
Absolutely.
You are the emotional anchor. People know you. Whatever you say, they will follow in India and everywhere in the world. Whenever people go out abroad, they are well respected because they succeed basically.
Yeah.
So the village people look upon to them, and always our Indian population always keeps coming back to their roots. So when they come, they engage with the sarpanch and all the society. So I said, people know you, people respect you, you have an emotional anchor. We want to use your anchor and we will do this development work. So it worked, and 45 villages were adopted. Actually, 62 were adopted, but we made a condition that we will only start the village work when you come to the village for 3 days.
Okay,
And
awesome.
be with us, and in front of you, we will see the pain points of the village.
Yeah, so there is ownership of this project as well.
Yes. Yes. So 45 of them actually came. So we worked in 45 villages.
Were these 60 to 45 villages in a particular state of India, or was it widespread?
These are across 19 states of India.
Okay, wonderful.
They are in 19 states. And that's how we developed 70 parameters that when a village tick marks 70, it becomes a smart village. And one by one, we started implementing, like the primary school in the village should become a digital school.
Yeah.
The primary health center should become a telemedicine center. All public utilities in village should become solar paneled. Then we started doing agriculture value addition for farmers. Those who were growing groundnut, we told them to make peanut butter and export to America.
Wow. Okay.
And we set up the
and
whole.
We know how much America loves peanut butter.
Right. So exactly.
Wonderful connect. Yeah. Amazing.
So that's how the Smart Village program.
Came up. And how about the field inputs on leadership? On Make in India, Skill in India, startup programs. What kind of work that went into these on field?
Yeah. So it's interesting. So almost every program, in some or the other way, I was involved in the initiative in the initial stages of thought process. So I knew what was the vision. Now just take Make in India, right? So because I have a very deep connection with across country with small medium enterprise. In my training school, I have trained 6,200 companies, right? Who are all exporting, and some of them are doing $100 million exports.
Yeah.
But when they joined my training, their export was zero. So I have a high goodwill. I know companies, they are honest to me. They give me honest feedback. I know across India. So I wanted to always check that this initiative which has come, what are the loopholes and how can we plug it, and how can we, give suggestions to improve it. So like that, for example, Make in India, very interesting. I don't think many people know about this, but the government made a list that what all products are being imported in India in high value, increasing to decreasing value, and except for oil, because we cannot produce it. Let us see how can we make people start making that in India, and what incentives government should give. So like that 180 product list, and like in 2017, we were importing 98% of our smartphones. And today we are exporting 97% we made in India. And in fact, we have exported $25 billion of smartphones. So many examples of this type. But wherever I felt that there was some gap, I would give a feedback based on my interaction with industry. And then Clean India program, same way. Clean India, people used to joke, Swachh Bharat, toilet banana hai. But toilet banana hai is actually business.
Yeah, correct.
It is business. There is going to be employment, there is going to be bricks, there is going to be cement, there is going to be sanitary ware. And so it's actually business, but it's also about Clean India, right? And facilities. Same way, Digital India is actually solving a lot of corruption related challenges. I still remember the days when I used to file income tax return physically through my chartered accountant. And there would be an assessment, and there would be a long process of refund. Now last financial year, 95% of income tax returns were electronically processed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know who assessed it. That person doesn't know me.
And not
Right.
just that, the response is within 30 days or even
Correct.
less than that, right?
No, less. In 10 days, we get
Yeah.
our income tax refund. That
Absolutely.
too through SMS from the bank.
True.
Right.
True.
So to talk about any Digital India initiative, it is extremely successful. Smart India is also about 100 smart cities.
Yeah.
Stand Up India is very interesting. I still recall those words of Mr. Modi saying that until and unless women are part of Indian economy in high number, we cannot become prosperous. Stand Up India program of Government of India is to promote women-owned businesses, women entrepreneurs.
Okay.
You know, so Government of India has created an institution where up to 2 crore rupees, women-owned businesses need not give any collateral security to get a loan from bank.
Okay. Amazing.
Right, and there is a subsidized rate of interest.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mentoring. So that has seen a big burst in startups in India. And then of course Startup India. So Startup India, when it started, a lot of criticism. In fact, every program when it started, there used to be criticism. You know, so in the public domain, there those words of Mr. Modi is there that whenever people threw bricks at me, I made steps out of it. You know, to climb.
Yeah.
So he did the same. All this criticism which used to come, he improved upon it. And Startup India is a very good example. See, let me tell you very interesting and alarming statistics. Last year, 16 million people, 1.6 crore people in India, they joined the job market. Even if our growth was double, we cannot give jobs to so many people, even if it is triple. So already we are the fastest growing major economy in the world, and still we are not able to give jobs. So jobs is not going to come. Jobs are not the answer. Answer is entrepreneurship. Such a large population will always need services, will always need products. And so Startup India is in the right direction, that rather than looking for a job, start an initiative. Government will initially support and fund you and mentor you. And then in 3 years, you will reach a stage where you start hiring people.
Absolutely.
So not only did you not take a job, but you actually started giving jobs. And that is what has started happening in a big, big way today.
Wonderful.
I mean, look at 2015, 2 unicorns in India. Today, we are talking of, we reached 120 unicorns.
Amazing.
Look, any figure you take. I mean, so Startup India is amazing success. And when I did Mentor on Road in America, I learned a lot of best practices, because I still today consider US as the mother of innovation in the world, you know, and mother of startups. So I went to, actually every morning I used to go to incubation centers and accelerators and universities and learn the best practices. So we shared a lot of those best practices. In fact, Startup India was our partner in US Mentor on Road. And then Skill India. So Skill India, that is another challenge, that even though we say that, okay, 16 million people graduated in India a year, but they don't have the skills. In our commerce colleges, in the BCom course, Bachelor of Commerce, we are not teaching how to, for example, how to fill up a check in a slip book and go to bank.
Nobody teaches.
In the electrical engineering, we are not teaching how to repair a fused bulb. So where is the question of them knowing it? You know, so our education system is faulty. So the new education policy has addressed that, right? But Skill India, for example, if a foreign company is going to come, or even if an Indian company that they want this type of people, where are the standards? First set up the standards, no? So National Skill Development Corporation first set up the standards. First of all, these should be the standard of teaching in terms of skills. And then who will deliver that? It was all public-private partnership. And then when they are skilled, who will hire them? Again, the private companies who are part of the training itself hired them, because they said, it is our pain point. We are not getting skilled people. Government said, you only decide what skill you want and you only teach them.
So it's about the matching of the,
right. So they started hiring. So like this, each program has been unbelievable. And honestly, when it started, there were loopholes. loopholes.
Of
It is
course.
always
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I still remember when Obamacare was launched, on the first 3 days, every day it used to crash.
Of
With
course.
such
Yeah.
a developed country
Yeah,
and
exactly. It
such
has its
a
own,
thing,
it has its
it
own
has its
challenges.
own,
Yeah.
right? So every program initially had, and it is there is nothing like I always say, the road towards development is always under construction.
True. Correct.
So it never stops. You
Yeah.
always improve, right? So
Absolutely.
it kept improving. So that's how whenever I used to get a feedback from my community or business people, I would then just pass on that, look, this is something I feel we should be doing, and
Yeah.
then some of that was implemented, some of them had challenges. So that is, I enjoyed that because I was just connecting the grassroots to the
Yeah.
policy.
Absolutely. In spite of all the travel, in spite of the road shows, the mentoring on road initiatives, network across the globe, you still found time to write 2 books. And of course,
Yes.
one of them was during the COVID times, and the other one was Shabdon Ki Zimmedari. Maybe if you could share a bit about what were these books all about?
Yeah, so so that's first I'll talk of this शब्दों की जिम्मेदारी, right? That's my
Yeah.
book,
Wonderful.
and शब्दों में जिम्मेदारी झलकनी चाहिए, आपको बहुत से लोग पढ़ते हैं.
Beautiful.
So anyway, so this book has 896 poetry,
Uh-huh.
and every day morning I write one poetry every day for
Oh,
years.
that's
I post it in my social media.
Uh-huh.
So and that is written on my yesterday's experience.
beautiful.
Yes, and I whenever I give this book to anyone, I say just keep it in where you drink your morning tea and coffee, and open any page any day. Open any page, just 2 to 3 lines, and you read any one, and you will think it is written for you only.
Yeah. Okay. That's a beauty.
Number one. Number two, whole day you will feel positive in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And number three, if someday you feel low for any reason, read 4 or 5 of them, and you message me that I am no more low.
You'll get charged up. Absolutely.
So this is something it's very popular, and I give this to a lot of people. Then I wrote in the pandemic. So जब पूरा जगत कैद में था, when the entire universe was
You play on the words. Beautiful.
yeah, because I was traveling all over world.
Yeah. And suddenly you were stuck, right?
I'm at
Were you
home.
in Ahmedabad at that
Yes,
point?
I was in Ahmedabad, and my wife made sure she locked the house from inside. She said
Okay.
you cannot go out. She knew my nature.
Yeah.
That's the love. But suddenly I was at home. Imagine.
Yeah.
And like it's a huge mental
Not
thing.
easy. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it took me 5-6 days. Actually, I enjoyed for 5-6 days. Hey, this is good. This is great. I mean, this is life. Whole life I was just wasting my time. This is really good. I am enjoying.
Yeah.
But then I said, how many days, And then very early I realized this pandemic will last long. Yeah. And so then I started doing a lot of activities, and I made myself very, very productive. Amazing. I read so much, I studied so much, I started conducting webinars, which I call Vibrant Dinars, which we trademarked. Trademark is called Vibrant Dinar. I started giving a lot of knowledge to people, and people from all over world started attending. Right. And then I wrote that any business person, if you get either literally if you go to jail.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. You actually get to read some Bhagavad Gita.
So how I did every day, day 22, day 24, day 30. What did I do on that day?
Wonderful.
So like that, whole my 3 months of pandemic lockdown, I have captured into a book form.
Wonderful.
So this is a very handy book for people who are either or even for those whose health suffers.
Yeah.
Suddenly you are at home and then how you should be living your life rather than keep complaining, bring a positivity to it.
Yeah.
And then in fact, I have written one more book which is called Jain Philosophy for the 21st century youth. And you will be surprised, Santoshji. In Jainism, see, my topics are Jainism and artificial intelligence.
Wow.
And drone technology, space technology, genetic engineering, nanotech, quantum computing, all this is written in our scriptures.
Wow.
3,000 years back.
Amazing. That's really bridging the gap, right?
Correct. And so, because see, one more interesting thing, when I was doing this Mentor on Road tour in America, I was interacting with a lot of Jains because I go to Jain temples.
Yeah.
in every city. And I used to ask, what is your biggest pain point? They said, our children, we have not been able to tell them the essence of Jainism because we were busy in our careers.
And
We
they were
never-
raised there. Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't know. So then I started this exercise to speak to them in their language. I knew they are speaking the language of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So I did research and I found out in Jain scripture there is a mention of it. And then I started telling them that, look, I feel sorry for you because you are very backward because you are talking today, but we used to speak 3,000 years back about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So then they got interested.
Just
Oh,
connected the whole
yes.
dots. Yeah, amazing. So you have seen India from a different lens, worked on the ground, networked with a whole lot of people. You have met people across the world. You got to know the feedback about India from them, their lens. And now you see India which is heading in, probably, I have no words to describe, but it is there, almost there, right? What is it that you see, Bharat, from your lens in the next 5 to 10 to overall the 2047 dream that we have of Viksit Bharat?
See, I always say that there was a time when India was called Sone ki Chidiya.
Yeah.
Why were we called Sone ki Chidiya? Because we were very wealthy, we were very rich, we were very prosperous. Those days there was no industrial revolution, there was no machinery, there was no computer. But it was a knowledge era. We were in a knowledge era. What was the knowledge era? So we had these boats which had sailboats. Wherever wind goes, the boat will go. So people will sit in the boat, Gujarat and all our western coast and even eastern coast. And so the boat will reach Dubai, boat will reach Aden, boat will reach Mombasa in Africa. 2-3 brothers would be there in the boat. They would go there and we were selling spices. Spices not for taste, spices for health. We knew that these herbs solves these problems in the body.
Yeah.
So that was knowledge. We were selling knowledge. And we were selling those small, we were selling cloth which would pass through a ring.
Yeah.
It was not a cloth, it was knowledge. How to make a cloth pass through a ring was knowledge. We were in a knowledge economy. And we were 25% of the global trade was India. 25% of GDP in those days was India. Today it is 2%, 3%. So we then we were ruled by others.
Yeah.
And all our grassroots education, our gurukuls, everything was killed.
Yeah.
And then we got independence, but we still were under the influence of British. And we were still not able to jo Bhartiyata or Indianness we were not getting. So when Mr. Modi, we used to observe him as a chief minister, and whatever we saw, we saw that what he is trying to do is actually solving those challenges and we are actually moving towards a knowledge-based economy. Take an example of Vibrant Gujarat. He said, let's not just target on investment, let us bring knowledge to Gujarat. And he said, best expert of any sector, bring them here. He said, knowledge will grow our business. I am talking of 2003. Right. So again, that knowledge economy part. And today, if you see, particularly 2 sectors, IT and pharmaceutical, even financial services. You are from bank, you are a banker with such a rich experience. I mean, these 3 in the world, you are yourself banker.
Absolutely.
Respect our Indian bankers have in the world. Now, what is banking? Banking is knowledge. What is IT? IT is knowledge. Pharmaceutical is knowledge. It used to take 10 years to develop a vaccine. We developed in 1 year. And world-class vaccine, not like a faltu
what
vaccine.
we saw. Exactly.
And we gave to 100 countries for free. Right. So knowledge economy. And that is what I think Mr. Modi is focusing on. I still remember the days when I used to give my passport to any developed country immigration, and they would look at my face. I could see in their eyes not much respect for an Indian face. Now, when I give, they just look at me and say, are you IT engineer? I say, yeah, I am IT engineer. Why? Because we are exporting IT.
Yes.
Why pharmaceutical? Because we are exporting pharmaceutical. To me, pharmaceutical is the benchmark of quality. It is inside body. you are
Yeah.
curing somebody.
Correct.
You have to be so sure about quality.
Correct.
There is no better product as an example of quality than pharma. And
Mm.
if we are there, we are exporting to the world. Third largest export of India is pharma.
Yeah.
100 companies in America are owned by Indian companies.
Yes.
Pharma companies. So we are there and we are reaching. Now, I always used to listen that 5-year plan is a long-term plan.
Mm.
And suddenly Mr. Modi started talking of 2047.
Yeah.
That was a 25-year plan.
Yeah.
I think 25-year plan is a long-term plan. Right? 5-year plan is a short-term plan.
Absolutely.
So if you go to the, I must share, Santoshji, a very interesting framework of World Bank. It is called Wolfenson's framework. The relationship to your question.
Yeah.
They have mentioned 7 forms of capital.
Yeah.
And being a bank, they say financial capital is actually lower form of capital. There are 3 lower form of capital. There are 4 higher form of capital. Lower form of capital is natural resources, man-made infrastructure, and financial capital. And what are the 4 higher forms of capital? And that is what India is now working on. Institutional capital, institutional capital.
Yeah.
Like chambers of commerce and your planning commission, your Niti
The
Aayog.
Niti Aayog. Yeah.
Then you have the knowledge capital. Take people like Narayan Murthy. Now, Narayan Murthy had to put his wife's jewelry on loan to buy first 5 computers. Where was the money? There was no money.
Correct.
But knowledge.
Yes.
Knowledge is a higher form of. Look at where is Infosys today.
True. Absolutely.
So many examples like that. Third is human capital. Self-realization and action orientation.
Yeah.
To me, I'm so happy. To me, World Bank says the highest form of capital is cultural capital.
Wow. And we are so rich in this.
So rich. Now, what are the representative elements of cultural capital?
Yeah.
Architecture. Now, if I go to Italy, 180-year-old building, I take a selfie, I post in Facebook.
True.
And I feel good about it. I have 1,000-year-old forts in India. But we have not maintained it. I don't take a selfie because there's grass growing there.
Yeah.
So we have the higher form of capital in form of architecture, but we are not encashing it. Now take example of Ram Mandir.
Yeah.
The way Ram Mandir has been built and the way the architecture is, that is higher form of capital.
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere that every year 2 crore people, 20 million people go to Makkah, Medina. 9 million people, 90 lakh people go to Vatican. Just this first year, 5 crore, 50 million people will go to Ayodhya.
Amazing. Yeah.
Well, you are talking of today 11 5-star hotels are being built in Ayodhya.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You are talking of jobs. You are talking this
huge
is
ecosystem around. Look at Statue of Unity, right? Again,
correct.
What did people say in the beginning?
Yes.
Oh, what is the money we spent on? But guys, the ecosystem today, huge.
True. Now, so another element of that is tourism. So tourism is the largest job creator in the world. And then the last element is diaspora. I think Mr. Modi is the first leader in our country who understood the power of diaspora. We always thought, oh, that guy is Indian origin, but American citizen. He's not going to vote in India. How that person is important to me as a politician?
Yeah.
But that was a wrong thinking. That was a wrong thinking. First time diaspora. So diaspora is actually a high form of capital, a cultural capital, because it's culture, it's root. An Indian anywhere in the world never ceases to be an Indian just because the passport has changed.
Absolutely.
I mean, their food, their clothing.
Absolutely. Can't. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, that's why we have built temples all over the world. Right.
True.
So to encash that capital into positivity, and that is why you saw in 2015 the Madison Square Garden event where 25, the first time in the world a foreign leader was able to gather so many people in any other country. Right. And then it became a template. So the kind of involvement which they have to now let me give you a very interesting figure, Santoshji. I think if I'm not wrong, in 2018, $63 billion investment was made through foreign direct investment in India. And it was higher than China. For 20 years, it used to be China who used to get highest. That year, first time India got highest FDI. But, in that same year, $90 billion of remittance was done by Indians living abroad.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge.
Now, when somebody from abroad sends a remittance to India, what will happen? Either they will buy a house.
Yeah.
If they buy a house, then there is a construction activity, there is labor involved,
Yes.
there is cement, there is steel, there is
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah.
You forget house. If suppose they even put their money in a fixed deposit for the parents or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
bank is going to give that money as a loan to the industry,
correct.
and industry will grow.
Yeah,
So you are still getting more remittance
yes.
from Indians abroad. Now that is the high form of capital. Not the money part, but the feeling of theirs that no, I must put money in India because India is doing good.
Can't agree more. Absolutely.
So these are some of the things about India that where we see India going. Now we are first, our target is 5 trillion economy.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm by latest by 25 end, I think we should touch 5 trillion. We are already 4 trillion. Then we will become the third largest in the world.
Yeah.
And then to become a developed country by 2047,
yeah,
should not be a challenge, because then you will have a compounding,
effect of that. Yeah,
growth,
absolutely.
compounding growth. Because now the growth has been from a lower base.
Yeah.
But once your base becomes big, then the growth really can be, even a small percentage of growth will be a big growth.
True. And then you have the demographic dividend, right? A young
Yes.
population. Amazing. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
65% population of India is below 35 years of age.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing.
50% population below 25 years of age.
Correct. And look at the other economies of the world. Aging population, challenges
Correct.
on health front, challenges on work front. In fact, some countries here in Asia, they're actually trying, as you rightly say, redeploying the retirement age. People come back to work, and the new guys who are yet supposed to work are busy on Instagram. That's the tragedy. So
True.
yeah.
In fact, we have now 1 billion smartphones in India. I mean, all these 35 years and below are digitally literate.
Yeah,
People say, oh, India's literacy rate is 74%, but we have 100% digital literacy.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
digital literacy is what we need today.
And look at the magic of UPI.
Correct.
You know,
correct.
when I on my recent visit to India, I paid cash. I tried to pay cash. The guy said, "Main kahan rakhu?" I couldn't believe it for myself. You know, that's the beauty. You know,
Yeah, the last year, of all the digital transactions which America and China did together, India did double of that.
Yes, yeah.
And these two are very highly digitalized economies.
Absolutely. One last question, but a very, very important question before I let you go. The Honorable Prime Minister Modi, you've worked with him since years. You know him on a different basis. What's been your experience working with the Honorable Prime Minister? I mean, you started off working with him as an Honorable CM, right? Over the years. Maybe you could share some experience.
So, people, I call him Yug Purush. I have actually made an audio on his 20th birthday, and I have written 10 things why I call him a Yug Purush. See, I'm an educated guy, right? I'm a doctorate. I have traveled all over the world. I don't go by, hyperbole, and I don't get, I'm very logical. I'm very, I'm very focused. I'm not like what people call typical Bhakt. I understand things well. So I call him Yug Purush. Yug Purush is someone comes in 1,000 years, right? There are many incidents I cannot narrate because he is told not to tell. But if I tell those, and people will cry that what type of person he is. I mean, what an amazing person. But let me tell you certain things. So first is that a lot of people say visionary leader. But another thing I call is called vision. Actually seeing, not just thinking that if I do like this, it will happen like this. No, but actually, even before starting to think that if I do like this, it will certainly happen like this, and I can see what will happen. That is his ability. And I think this is God gift. This is God gift. This is no normal human, I think, can do. It is like the sixth sense, which we call, or whatever. It's like the third eye, which we call in our religion, and so many things. But I have seen this, I have observed this so many times by many examples. And another is very grassroots. See, if anybody gets an appointment from Prime Minister for 20 minutes. 15 minutes he will listen uninterrupted what you are talking. 5 minutes, then he will tell 3-4 points, and you will think I have spent 25 years in banking, but this guy has told me these 3 things. What an amazing! This is actually the summary, and why keep my mind. Now tell me, how can he say that? He says that because he listens to people. He has listened to somebody.
He has that ability of listening, which is more important for people nowadays. We don't have that ability.
Yes, and because he has listened to somebody, he is able to tell you. You go to even a municipal corporation in India, even for 5 minutes, he will not allow you to speak.
True.
He knows more than you.
Agreed.
You go there, no, like even 5 minutes you can't. Now we are talking about Prime Minister. That is his biggest, I think, skill. That he listens to people, even youngsters. See, we had last week
gamers,
he was listening, he was learning, he was listening to them. He said, I want to know what you are doing, how it is going to impact India, what regulation should we bring. And then he went on to say we should not bring any regulation. It gave a huge boost. I think 100,000 businesses will start, you will see, in gaming in 1 year, just because of that one meeting.
Exactly.
But he listened.
He heard. Even the Creators Award ceremony, if you recall, he stepped into the shoes, and the language he was talking was exactly what a youngster would love to listen to, and it was well understood, right? That's very important.
I'll give one live example. So we had gone to China, and we had gone to one region where earthquake had come. So then he wanted to know that what all things you did, because in Kutch we had an earthquake. We had a bad earthquake in Kutch. So he wanted to know from these Chinese engineers that what all you did. And they were explaining about affordable housing. He took the pad and pen himself, and he sat down in a chair, and he told us, tell me the cost of bricks, tell me the cost of cement, tell me the cost of steel, tell me your labor cost, how much time it took to make, from where did you bring, how much was the transport cost. And then, he asked 20 questions, and they said, when did you give possession? Did you charge money to them or not? How much did you charge? How much did was subsidized? And he calculated. He did the total himself. And then he was telling to all of us who were with him that these are some good practices we should learn and take it to India. I mean, himself inquisitive.
Correct.
Himself wanting to understand whether what I am seeing is really possible to do, or is just like a hyperbole and just
so critical analysis of a different level, unexpected and unimaginable.
Exactly. So everywhere he goes, and he would recall always, he will remember people's face by name. Even 20 years back, we met somebody in Shanghai, a girl, and he said that girl told me later on, I am meeting him after 20 years. And he remembers my name, and he knows, because she was sitting in the hotel lobby, and he had come to meet him, but there's all the security issues. The moment he came out from the lift, he was going to a meeting, and he saw that woman.
Okay.
And he called, hey, come here.
Wow.
And she was surprised. We had not even told that, somebody is waiting for you. Because the messaging had not gone. And he called, and he started asking about her father and other things. So I mean, his memory of name recalls is amazing.
Amazing. Dr. Jagat Shah, absolutely fantastic talking to you. So much of knowledge, and more importantly, the kind of work you and your wife have been doing for Bharat. I think it's of immense value. I'm sure once our podcast is on air, there's so much that our listeners, our audiences will get to know. I think there's a lot more to talk. We must have another part 2 of the podcast. But for now, many, many thanks, Dr. Jagat Shah, for joining us on this podcast for The Sound of Money.
Thank you so much, Santosh. I enjoyed thoroughly. Thank you very much.
And well, with that, we come to the end of this episode of The Sound of Money. I hope, and I'm very, very sure that you loved listening to Dr. Jagat Shah on this podcast. From me, Santosh Siroor, and Dr. Jagat Shah, thank you for joining in on The Sound of Money.